Open up the door, it's Dave!
Who?
Dave! D-A-V-E!
Dave?
Right, man, Dave.
Dave's not here.
You've got your new electric car, whether it's a Tesla or some other electric car. You bring it home and you decide that you want to charge it. It's already got some charge in it. You're bringing it home and you've got to decide how you're going to charge it regularly at home. You've got to think about what do you have to do to get it charged. And there's a couple of options you have available to you. You can install a level 2 charger at home and therefore be able to charge your car fairly quickly. You could, of course, just plug it into a 120 volt outlet, and that would work too, but it's going to be really, really slow. You really want a level 2 type charger. The level 2 charger gives you about 15 kilowatts per hour, give or take. Depends on the car and the actual electrical outlet, which I'll talk about in a moment. And that's about maybe 25 miles that you'll get in an hour on a good day. There are certainly other factors that will contribute to that based on the car, based on the electric grid, other things that are going on there. If you have a non-Tesla, then you have a lot of options available to you with different types of wall chargers that are level 2 type chargers. If you have a Tesla, that adds 2 more things in there because remember, Tesla has its own proprietary adapter that they use, so that gives you 2 more options that you don't have with the other cars. Now, of course, with a Tesla, you can use any of the other options if you want to. You just need to use your J1772 adapter, that dongle that comes with the car, in order to charge up while you're at home. So you just have to decide which one you want to use. So I'm going to go through with you a couple of options that you have available and talk about which one I think is the best and what decision I made to go ahead with my car. When I sold my Model 3, I kept the mobile connector that came with it when I bought the car. They don't include it anymore, but it used to come standard inside the car. So I decided I'd just keep it. It worked great for my Model 3, so why not go ahead and use it for the Model Y? And then when I went to plug it in, it had this behavior. So clearly something is wrong, and I got a message in the app that said it was not connected properly, and when I got in the car, it repeated the same thing. You'll notice when I look at the screen here that it says it's charging at 16 amps, so it is charging, just not efficiently. So something's wrong with it. Now, to be fair, there was something amiss with the mobile connector somewhere along the way. A couple of times it failed on me, it just stopped working, but I was able to reset it. So it could be that there's actually something wrong with it. But, after 4 years of use, I'm not really concerned with it, and I don't think it's covered under warranty anymore. I'm still checking on that, but it looks like I'm going to have to replace it with something else. As an observation, when I pulled my Model Y into the garage, I noticed it's a little bit bigger than the Model 3 was and takes up a little more space. Just an observation. Before talking about different adapters, let's talk about electricity. Among other things, one of the things you want to decide on is whether you want to have it hardwired into your electrical panel, or whether you want to plug it into an outlet. If you plug it into an outlet, you need a 240 volt outlet that you're going to put in. And that means that you need maybe a NEMA 1450 or a NEMA 650, some kind of outlet that gives you that 240 volts that then you can charge using so that you can plug your electrical device into it to actually charge your car. Now remember that if you plug it into an outlet, there's a little bit of loss every time there's a connection point. Whether it's at the panel, whether it's in the actual outlet, whether it's in the back of the box, whatever it is, there is some loss every time that you have to go across something else. So in the electrical plug, there's a little bit of loss. You'll get more energy if you hardwire it directly into the electrical panel. Now, of course, I warn everyone here, this is something that you really don't want to take on yourself. You want to hire a competent electrician to come in and do the work for you. In either case, you need to run the wiring to wherever you're going to have your charging port. If it's hardwired, it looks like this. And if you're going to put an outlet in, you'll use something like this. In my case, I had already installed this outlet. Why are you restricted to 240 volts when charging at home? Let's have a look and see. The thing about home electric is that they're bringing in some amount of voltage from the outside panel and bringing it to your circuit breaker. Each one of these circuits is capable of handling 120 volts. So you have 120 volts through that one, 120 volts through that one. And then for these that are the 240 volt outlets, it's 120 at each of these breakers. So it amounts to 240 volts because you're taking 2 120 volt lines and carrying them out to where you want to have them. So you're restricted down to having 240 volts because it's 2 times the 120. If you wanted to put more voltage on it, it would cause an electrical problem if you don't have enough voltage coming into the house to support that sort of thing. So you're restricted down to a maximum of 240 volts to get to your electric charger. And that's true of your air conditioner, your range, your dryer, other things like that that consume large amounts of energy. So it's restricted up to that point that you can get 240 volts. Now, could you draw more power into your house? Technically, yes, but you'd have to contact the power company and have them lay new lines to be able to draw more power, which is not something the power companies generally want to do. They'll do it at businesses, but they don't like to do it for residential type things because it draws too much energy and causes a number of other issues. That's why you're limited down with a 240 volt outlet such as this to be able to charge your car. It's just like the one that you have by your dryer. You plug into it, you can charge with it, but you're limited with how much energy you can draw from it. So what happens is these home chargers that you would put on the wall, they take that voltage and they convert it and step it up and step it down with the amperage you get to give you a maximum amount of charge to shorten the amount of time it takes to actually charge your car. With that in mind, let's take a look at the different options that we have available. I'm going to go through a series of the more popular ones and talk about them. First up is the Grizzly, which runs $395 and can charge at 10 kilowatt hours. That's about 30 miles in a given hour. Next up is the Emporia, runs about $400. That one can charge at 11.5 kilowatt hours and gives you 20 miles per hour. So that's an option as well. And I think that's probably what I would take if I wanted to think ahead a little bit. Autel makes one that sells for $479. It charges at 12 kilowatt hours and gives you 35 miles per hour when you plug it in. Remember that most of these can either go hardwired or to the 240 volt NEMA outlet. The Wallbox charges at 22 kilowatt hours and goes at about 35 miles an hour, but it's a little more expensive. And then the price keeps going up when you look at the Juice Box. It charges at 11.5 kilowatt hours and gives you 40 miles per hour, but it costs $650. The prices jump significantly. And finally, ChargePoint has one that can go 12 kilowatt hours and give you about 37 miles in a given hour. So that's a pretty good deal, but it's $750. Now, there's a new player in the market. This one is called the Kite EV. It's from Stoke Voltaics. And they actually, we don't know what the charging rate is, but it's a much lower price point. It actually looks like a pretty good deal. And then there's the equivalent of the Tesla mobile connector. That's this one from Lectron that charges at 7.7 kilowatt hours and gives you 25 miles an hour. Now, you may have the ability to get electricity from your electric company. FP&L offers a deal for $38 a month. You can charge as much as you want off peak. Now, for a Tesla, you might buy the Tesla wall connector, and that charges at 11.5 kilowatt hours and gives you about 44 miles in an hour, which is terrific. But the price point is a little high, and honestly, the Tesla mobile connector for $260 at 7.7 kilowatt hours and 30 miles per hour is a pretty good deal. So after going through the various options, thinking potentially ahead at maybe what another car might be, or if we got a second car that wasn't a Tesla, I might have picked up one of the other models, but I decided to just go ahead and get the Tesla mobile connector just like I had it before. It arrived in the mail a couple of days later, and I was able to get it out and get it set up. I mean, it really literally only takes a minute to set up. It comes with a 120 volt adapter and the NEMA 1450 240 volt adapter. All you have to do is just plug it into the 240 volt adapter and then just plug that in the wall and you are ready to go. It'll charge at its maximum capacity what the car can take. So this is something that I thought was pretty good and very straightforward. So I went ahead and just put it on my wall just to replace the one I had. I did a 1-to-1 replacement for what I had before, and I went from there. I figured this was a reasonable solution to continue charging at the exact same rate I was doing before for the lowest price point for me. Now, remember that all of these charging rates and everything else is limited by what amperage you have on your circuit breaker, what kind of car you drive, what kind of battery it has, and the charging system that's associated with it. So the moment of truth, I plugged it in, it cycled for a moment, and then it turned green, so I know that it's charging. So everything worked fine as soon as I put the new adapter on. So something was, in fact, wrong with my old adapter. So you can see that it actually started charging. It's charging at the 32 amps like I expected, and it's actually getting the 240 volts, and it's getting 8 kilowatt hours, which is great. So it's going to get me somewhere around 30 miles in an hour, which is terrific. So if I'm all the way empty for 330 miles, it would take 11 hours to charge completely. But I don't imagine I'll have that very often, and if I do, then I would just leave it charging overnight. Of course, I could have taken any one of a number of options. They might have worked just as well, maybe even better. But I think this is a terrific option. Now, I mentioned at the outset that one of the limiting factors is your ability to charge at home, and the fact that you have to run the electricity and make everything work. Since I'd already done that in the past, this was an easy connection to just move on from here. What did I do in the meantime while I was waiting for the new mobile adapter to come to the house? Well, what I did was I went to one of these public chargers that happens to be available in my city, and there's no charge for them. There's no cost to it. So I've been charging my car here pretty regularly while I wait for the thing to arrive. So it's worked out pretty well. It's, a half a mile walk from my house, so I drop it off in the morning, leave the car here, and then come back in the afternoon and pick it up. And it's been a very efficient way to use my time wisely, and I get a little exercise and have a little fun along the way too. So there's no downside to it really, but it's been pretty straightforward and easy to just make this happen. So now I'll just take my little dongle off of here and we'll put the thing away here. Ta-da! And you can see that I'm all charged and ready to go. So I have my dongle back and I'm ready to go, and then I can just go on my way, and later on I'll hook up my home charger so that I can continue to charge at home going forward. So at the end of it all, in summary, I wound up buying another Tesla mobile connector to plug my car in. I figure it's the least cost way to do it, and the way that's going to be the most efficient for me. It's going to bring the cost down considerably while still allowing me to charge my car at a fairly reasonable rate to actually get it charged quickly.
What's your point, David?